Hello students, myself Vasudha Chandan Shive, Department of Political Science, KTHM College. I am here to discuss about the topic democracy, election and governance. And in that unit, we are going to learn about the democracy, its foundation and dimension. So, we'll start with the first slide. So, when we are going to learn about the democracy, what democracy actually means, how it inserted in our India, we are going to learn it first. So while learning that, when we comprise our constitution, the three dimension which comes in mind is democracy, liberty and equality. So we are going to focus on democracy, but before that we are going to learn that how the democracy inserted in our India. So we will start from the Constitution of India. So the first the first part is constitutional history of our India. So constitutional history of India is divided into two parts. The first one is the company rule and the second one is the crown rule. So what is this company rule and crown rule? We are going to learn in detail. So the traders, the East India Company came to our India in 1600 as a traders because we were rich in spices. So they came in India as a traders and they tried to interfere in our political and administrative matters. But at that time, the Mughal, which was ruling on us on India, that was Alam Shah, and at that time the Elizabeth Queen I was there in the East India Company. So there was one agreement signed which was called as Diwani, which gave the power to East India Company that they can do the trading as well as they can interfere in our political affairs and also the administrative affairs. So in this way, the company rule started ruling on us as a traders and also as a company from the era of 1773 to 1858. So the next thing, the company rule we are going to learn in detail. We will see some regulating act, how the constitution get the regulating acts or the law which is present now in India, how it refers from the previous, from the 1600 years ago. So the first regulating act 1773 was there by the East India Company. So what was that? It was the first step taken by the British government to control and regulate the affair of the East India Company in India. So as we have discussed that they were interfering in our India because they want to rule on us, and they saw that there is the discrimination of caste system, there is illiteracy, there is poverty, there are many dimensions which gave them idea to rule upon us, and they took the first step that the British government control and regulate that affairs as to the East India Company in the Regulating Act 1773. After that, it recognized that the political and the administrative function of the company. They they know that they interfered in our India and they started ruling us, and they interfered in the political as well as in the administrative manner. Means they were controlling our commercial affairs also, and our trading also, and all the political affair as well as the administrative affair. So this led the foundation of central administration in our India. After that, the act came, which is known as Pitt's India Act of 1784. Now, before this act, the Regulating Act 1773 was there. It was messed up. Means there was not distinguished between this is the commercial affair or this is the political affair. But now in the Pitt's India Act 1784, it was differentiated or it was distinguished between the commercial and political affairs by the company. The functions of commercial as well as the political affair was distinguished by the company rule. Next one, it allowed the court of directors, means the two bodies were made: the court of directors to manage the commercial affair, and also new body was called the board of control to manage the political affair. Now, at this stage, at the 1784, the system of double government was formed. Means the commercial and political affairs were differentiated, and at that point the hierarchy of government was formed. So this was the first step took for the constitution, that the system of the constitution should be at the form of two level. Okay, that was the commercial level and the political level. After that, the next feature of the Pitt's India Act was that it also empowered to control, to supervise and direct all operation of civil and military governments or revenues of British possessions in India. So these two bodies were made: Court of Directors and Board of Control. Now, Board of Control was given the right to supervise and to direct all the operations, which was for the civil as well as for the government, as well as for the military government, or the revenues, which was for the British possessions in the India. So it gave the empowerment to the Board of Control to rule over the civil as well as the military affairs of the India. After that, the next act was the Chartered Act 1833. So now, before this, the designation was, means the whole India was, the representative of the whole India was the Governor General of Bengal. Only this designation was there. But according to the Chartered Act 1833, this designation changed to Governor General of India. Now, Lord William Bentinck, he was the first Governor General of India. Now he was for only the Bengal, but now he was given the authority, the empowerment to rule over the India. So this designation changed to Governor General of India. And Bentinck, he was the first Governor General of India. Next point, that is, now every legislature have some powers. Means Madras, Mumbai, Chennai, they all have their Governor Generals separately. But now, as William Bentinck came as a Governor General of India, now Bombay and Madras presidencies, mean the legislative powers were deprived. Now there were no governors of Bombay and the Madras. Only single person was that was Governor General of India, the Lord Bentinck. This was the feature of Charter Act 1833. After that, the next feature was Governor General of India was given the exclusive legislative power. Means now the presidency of Madras, Bombay, it was the powers was deprived from them. But only Governor General of India, who was there, he was given the legislative powers, the exclusive legislative powers. It attempted to introduce the system of an open competition for the selection of civil servants. So, for the first time, the open system was established for the competition and for selection of the civil servants. But at this time, Indians were not allowed in the civil services examination. So, this was the first thing, which is this thing is today in our constitution, that there is the open system of competition for civil servants. Now the next act came, that was Chartered Act 1853. It extended companies' rules and allowed it to retain the possessions of Indian territory on the trust of British Crown. Now the company rule was extended. It was not only for the presidencies like Chennai or Madras or for Bombay or for Bengal. It was allotted in many parts, and it was extended from the company rules in Indian territories, and it trusted on the British Crown. We will see how the British Crown was trusted in the next 2-3 slides. So it introduced for the first time the local representative in Indian Central in India. legislative council, means at the central level the representations of the legislative was formed. So the Charter Act 1853, it brought the open system for the selection and recruitment of the civil servants. Now, at this point, the Charter Act 1853, the Indians were also allowed to give the exam. The open system was established, and the Indians were also allowed to give the exam. So, the Macaulay committee was committee in 1954 was established for the open system of the civil servants recruitment and the selection. So this is the main feature of Charter Act 1853. So now the crown rule began. Now why? Now this era 1858 to 1947 was called as the crown rule, as the East India Company was ruling on us. They were going opposed to us in the religious manner, in the farming manner, and as well as the administrative manner. As the religious manner, these soldiers from India, they went to the border and they used to fight, but they were given that the shell of the bomb was made up of the fat of a cow and the pig, which was the opposed to our religion. This was the first very important feature, that the first independence war happened in 1957. The second reason was that the farmers were forced to grow the tobacco and indigo forcefully, which gives the infertility of the soil. So this was the second thing. And the third thing was they were interfering in our administrative manner, which was that Indians were not fully allowed to give the exam of the civil servants and serve the nation. So this at this time in 1957, a war took place. That was the first war of independence, and at that time East India Company left over our India, and the British crown rule was established from 1858 to 1947. So the first act, which was came Government of India Act of 1858, it provided that India was to be governed by the name of Her Majesty. Means now East India Company went away, but now the British rule came, and the British rule came, and on the name of Her Majesty we were ruled. After that, now the Governor General of India, this designation was given at the time of the East India Company. Now this designation changed to the Viceroy of India, and Lord Canning became the first Viceroy of India. So the everything was changed as the East India Company went away, and the crown rule came. Now the designation was also changed, that the Governor General of India was there, but now the designation was changed, that Viceroy of India, and the first Viceroy of India was Lord Canning. It ended the system of double government by the abolition of Board of Control and Court of Director. As we have learned by the Pitt's India Act, that the commercial and political affairs were distinguished between, and the hierarchy government was formed. But at this Government of India Act 1858, now this double government was abolished. Means the Board of Control and Court of Directors was abolished, and it created a new office, that was the Secretary of State. Secretary of State for the India. Now the two designation was formed. First was the Viceroy of India, and the second one was the Secretary of the State. And after that, the Secretary of State, the 15 members council was formed to India to assist the Secretary of State for the India. So here also the government was formed of the 15 members, which was assisting the Secretary of Secretary of State for the India. Now after that, the three main acts were passed off. The first one was in the different years. The first one was the Indian Council Act of 1961. 1892 and 1909. So now the viceroy should nominate some Indians as non-official member of the expanded council. Now we have seen before that the 15-member council was formed and to assist the state secretary of state for India, but Indians were not allowed in that. And now the Indian Council Act of 1861, now the viceroy was empowered that he can nominate the Indians as a non-official member because the council was expanded. Only the non-official member. But the 15 members were the same, the official members, and non-official members were there to manage the strength. Now, in 1862, Lord Canning, viceroy, he was at that time he was the viceroy. Now, the three members were allowed in the council of 15 members. At that, the additional three were allowed. Now, the three members nominated in the legislative council was the Raja of Banaras, Maharaja of Patiala, and Sardinkar Rao. So these were the three members, the Indian members, which was appointed as a non-official members in the council of the viceroy. After that, it initiated the process of decentralization by restoring the legislative power to Bombay and Madras presidency. Means the Governor General of Bengal was there. The designation was changed to Governor General of India, and the it deprived the powers of Bombay and Madras governor. But after that, the decentralization was by restoring the legislative power was given to the presidency of Mumbai and Madras again in the era of the crown rule, means at the British rule, and it created a new office for the state of Secretary of State at the Mumbai and Madras also. After that, it provided for the establishment of new legislative council for Bengal. Then after that, northwestern frontier provinces. Now after that, the act of 1909, it is also known as a Morley and Minto Act. Now Morley and Minto Act, at that time Lord Morley was the Viceroy of India and Lord Minto was the Secretary of State for India. So as this two persons were ruling on us, the act name was given as a Morley Minto Act because they put forward these ideas of that it increases the size of legislative council both at the central and provisional level. It enlarges that the deliberative functions, means the discussions of the legislative council at the both level was enlarged and increased. So this were the two ideas kept forward from the Morley Minto Act 1909. After that, it also provided for the first time for the associations of Indians with the executive council of the Viceroy of Governors. Means for the now till now the council of legislative council were allowed the three non permanent member in the legislative of the Viceroy. Now in this 1909 at the Morley Minto Act, the executive also gave the chance to enter to nominate the India in the executive council. Now at that time, Satyendra Prasad Sena became the first Indian to join the Viceroy's executive council. Now as legislative also have Indians and executive also have the Indians, but only one executive member was there, that was Satyendra Prasad Sena. He became the first Indian to enter the Viceroy's executive council. And the communal electorate, this idea was put forward by Morley Minto. Means that if the area is, for example, if the area is consisting of only uh, only of the religious manners, means only a Mohammedan person can be the representative and only the Mohammedan person can elect that members. This is the communal representative, and at that time only Muslims were given this authority of the communal electorate, means the special elective person. After that, Now, Government of Act 1919, Montagu-Chelmsford Reform. As well as that Parliament Act is there, the Montagu and Chelmsford Reform is also there. At that time, Montagu was the Viceroy of India, and the Chelmsford was the Secretary for the State of India. Now, it divided the provisional subject into two parts. First was the transfer subject, and the second was the reserve subject. Means what? At that time, the government was in the hierarchy form. Now, the two double government was formed. The dual system government, which was known as a hierarchy, and as the Government of India Act 1990 gave this feature. After that, it introduced for the first time the bicameralism and the direct election in the India. So the first direct election in our India, in our country, was held by the Montagu-Chelmsford Reform Act 1919. And bicameralism means bi means two and cameralism means house. So the two houses were formed at the Government of Act India 1919, Montagu-Chelmsford Reform Act. After that, the Government of Act 1935. Now it provided for the establishment of an all India federation consisting of provinces and princely state as the unit. The establishment of all India federation was there. Means the divide and rule policy was established at the age of the 1935 by the Government of Act 1935, and the provinces and princely state as the units. So the act divided powers between the center and the units in the term of a three list. The first one was the federal list, the second one was the provincial list, and the concurrent list. So the powers were divided. Now the federation was inserted in India. So federation means the division of powers and giving the list to the state, to the union, and to the concurrent list. So after that, it also provided the establishment of the Reserve Bank of India to control over the currency and credit of the India. After that, the Government of Act 1947. It ended the British rule in India and declared as an independent and sovereign state from the August 15, 1947. Now, this was only the constitutional history. It was a very big fight, but as uh, uh, it was only the constitutional ideas. So now this thing gave the dimension. It provided the partition of India, and now India will make their own constitution, and Pakistan will make their own constitution. Now, when we move further, now Government of Act 1947, it provided the Constitutional Assembly to the both the dominants of the legislative for the respective territory till the new constitution were drafted and enforced. As that, India will make the different constitution as of their own, and Pakistan by their own. Now, after that, when we comprise the constitution or our preamble, we get the three words, that is democracy, liberty, and equality. Now, while studying the democracy, the word is actually in the front of the preamble. Now, what is preamble? Preamble is an introductory statement in a document that explains the document's philosophy and objective. In a constitution, it represents the intentions of the framers, the history behind the creation, and core values and principle of the nation. Now, as for example, we take the project for completion. We give the acknowledgement or the index in front of the project. What is that? What I have presented in the what I have presented in the project, it is simply given in the introductory part. As same thing is adopted in our constitution, that due to the lengthiest and bulkiest form of the constitution, the preamble is given. It comprises all the thing, the legislative, executive, judiciary, and as well as the branch of administrative. So when we move further, The objective of preamble is that the constitution is the supreme law and it helps to maintain integrity in the society and to promote unity among the citizen to build a great nation. So this is the objective. Now the preamble consists for some words, its nature, its source. So democracy is the word which is included in the preamble, which is the uh, which is the outcome of the regulating act from 1600 to 1947. So for for this movement, for this freedom struggle, the democracy is inserted in our preamble because we have vast portion of areas with different religion, with different caste, gender. So the democracy is established in our India and it is highlighted in the preamble. So it also gives the objective to promote harmony throughout the nation. It provided a way of life. It includes fraternity, liberty, equality as the notion of a happy life. So these are the objective of preamble, which also give a clear dimension of why democracy is inserted in our constitution. So, what we have learned that Indian Constitution is the lengthiest written constitution and flexible in nature. Flexible in nature means it is rigid and flexible. We can amend the amendment can be take place in our Indian Constitution in a very simple process. So that's why Indian Constitution is a flexible in nature. After that, preamble describes the source and objective, which give clear idea of democracy in India. Democracy is word with many meanings and some emotional color, which this definition is given by the W.F. Willoughby. After that, the models of democracy, which is social, economical, and political, which is given in the preamble. So this is the assignment for the students that explain the background of Indian Constitution and explain the objective of the preamble. So in next lecture, we are going to learn about the evolution of the democracy, how the democracy evolved, what is its origin, how its growth, its model, and after that, the second point, the dimension of democracy, social, economic, and political. We will see this. We will discuss in a detailed manner how the democracy was inserted, the evolution, and the origin of the democracy, and some models of democracy. Thank you.